Welcome everyone to our webinar, and thank you for sharing your busy afternoon or morning with us. It's great to see you online. My name's Karen Bowness. I'm the marketing manager here at LiveHire, and I'm also the webinar moderator today. And we're in for a bit of a treat today. We're going to be talking about mastering social recruiting, and we've got a very special guest speaker, Joel Lalgee. Hi, Joel.
Hello, Karen. Great to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Thanks for joining us and sharing your expertise with us. And then, of course, we also have one of our usual hosts, Andy Whitehead, with us. Hi, Andy.
Hello, good to be here.
Okay, so we've got lots to cover off today. It's packed full of information. So let's kick off with our acknowledgement of country. We would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we meet today around Australia and the elders past and present. We acknowledge the ongoing connection that Aboriginal people have to this land and recognise Aboriginal people as the original custodians of this land. Now let's kick off with some housekeeping. So as I mentioned, we have Joel Lalgee with us today. I first came across Joel maybe 6 or 12 months ago on LinkedIn. I don't know how he managed to come into my feed, but I fell in love with his TikTok videos and his sense of humor on all things recruiting. So I was so excited when he agreed to speak with us today and share his expert tips. So thanks again, Joel, for joining us.
Thanks
And
for having me.
I'll pass over to him. I've had lots of emails from people asking if they'll be getting the recording. Yes, I will send that out this afternoon to you all. And as always, when we finish up with the event today, you'll be shown a survey form. If you could please take time to fill that out, just give us your feedback on today's session, any ideas you have for future speakers or topics that you'd like to hear about. We do these events monthly and we're always on the lookout for innovative topics and speakers. And then also on our survey, if you'd like more information about Joel's training programs, there'll be a question. You can tick the box to say yes, and Joel will be in contact with you. There'll also be a question if you'd like more information about LiveHire. Tick that box and we'll be in touch with you. Now, our next event is going to be a little bit special. We have the amazing David Burkus, who's an author, keynote speaker, and of course a business thought leader, who's launching a new book, and we're going to be doing that here with you. So it's on an unusual day for us, which is a Friday, the 10th of November. And that will be at 12:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So there'll be some prizes. It's going to be lots of fun. So I hope you'll join us. And for those people that have been emailing me about the Barb Bruno event that we promised, Barb will be joining us, I think it's on the 30th of November, to discuss that topic that she promised last time she was with us, which is improving hiring manager intake meetings. So look out in your inbox for all those emails for invitations. Last up, we're going to do questions at the end, as we usually do, just in case you haven't joined us before. If you can just use this Q&A box at the bottom there, just click on that, type in your questions, and any I can answer, I will, that are admin related. Any for Joel or Andy, we'll keep to the end. So feel free to ask us those as we go along. Our agenda, it looks a little bit like this. I'm going to pass over to Joel in a moment, who will talk to you for around 40 minutes, and then he'll pass directly over to Andy, who's just going to talk to you about how LiveHire can show you the results of your social recruiting, and you're able to track that through our metrics, which is amazing. And then we'll do questions. So I'm really excited to introduce to you Joel. Joel is a recruiter, first and foremost, I guess, so he knows your pain. He's an influencer, a social media strategist, an advisor, a podcast host, and of course, a speaker. Welcome, Joel, and thanks for joining us.
It is awesome to be here. Super excited and ready to get going. So I'm going to share my screen and we just practice this. Here we go. Oh, look, I skipped ahead. So I'm going to be talking about social recruiting. I'm going to start my timer here as well to make sure I'm staying on track. But I'm also going to be talking a lot about the power of video. And the reason I've gone with the direction of video is over the last year or so, I've just become really almost like obsessed with this idea of connecting with people, with candidates, with clients, with anyone that you're trying to reach via video and social media. And I also know that when we talk about like social media, we talk about social selling. I always think that video is kind of left out, and I think it's because people feel uncomfortable. So I want to, show you the power of video and hopefully take away some of like the mysticism and fear around platforms like TikTok. So I want to introduce myself and kind of talk about my background, but I always start with introducing my wife first. And big reason is because she inspires me a lot to create content. She inspired me in the beginning. And I remember for a long time, it was just LinkedIn. And as my popularity on LinkedIn grew and grew, she did not find it cool at all. And so in recent years, I started to create content on TikTok and Instagram and Snapchat. And I thought I honestly thought that would make me cool, and it didn't. So she thinks I'm really, really lame for everything I do, but she also has sacrificed a lot of time with me because creating content in the way I do takes a lot of time. So, but she's just a great support person. And as you can see, she's a lot of fun. And she's also upstairs with my 2 kids. So if you hear her crying, I got 2 kids under 5. In terms of my professional background, which is probably what you guys care more about, I was a former agency recruiter, so I still do some recruiting. It's more minimal now, like executive level HR at times, and I do sales and business development for the agency that I'm with. I've got about a decade of experience, and I really, hired everything from garbage truck drivers all the way up to C-suite executives. And I spent about a year and a half during COVID training global recruitment teams on how to do this very topic, which is social selling. I focused a lot on LinkedIn at that time. And like I said, over the last year or so, what really has impacted me has been my growth on TikTok in particular. That's a platform that Karen mentioned. Like I've really, really fallen in love with short form video and TikTok as a platform. And in terms of like follower count, I think I'm up to, this is probably old data now, but over 400,000 followers and a lot of impressions. And the reason I say that is not to flex or anything like that. Like, I honestly don't think that how many views or how many followers actually matters. It's like the quality of followers. But if I'm going to talk to you guys about video and the power of social media, I always think those numbers at least help back that up. So I also want to show, like, I got this whole setup here. Obviously, I got my neon light and I have these like other lights. Okay, that's not like where I was when I started. And if you look at this picture on the left, this is where I started. This is my first ever live stream on LinkedIn. And I was with Lou Adler. So many of you guys will know Lou. And that headset is from Walmart. It was like $5. I got it 45 minutes before we went live. I was horribly unorganized. And I've always been the type of person, like just in recruiting, like I would just do things. Like I'm not always following process. Like I like to just step out and do things. And so this is where I started on the left. And now you can see where I am in 2023. You can see the evolution. But this is only 4 years. And the reason I say that is, like, I haven't been doing this for 25 years. I've been creating content for 4 years. And you can see how far I've come. Like, I've got sponsors and all this sort of stuff. And I've got a neon light. So I like to share that as well. So I can relate to not having any of this. And I just want to tell you right now, like, everything I talk about tonight, wherever you are right now, you're totally okay to start. And that's a great step. So obviously, when I look at the last couple of years, it's been a roller coaster. Like, I think of 2021 as like the golden era for recruiters. And now we're in what I like to describe a bloodbath for recruiters. So I know this is impacting recruiters all over the place. Definitely here in the US, there's a lot of tension, right? And like, I have a lot of followers on LinkedIn, mainly recruiting and HR people, and I get DMs all the time, people looking for jobs. So it's been a really like crazy pendulum swing. And one thing that I've noticed is there's this trend that happens with us where if there's no hiring, it really, from almost like a business leadership standpoint, there seems to be this view that there's like absolutely no value for recruiters. And I joke about this a lot. And, I make memes around this. I just did a post on Twitter about this. Like, you know, a lot of recruiters that are interviewing are complaining that other recruiters are asking them why they got laid off. And it's like, are you serious right now? Like, it's been a tough time. And so I've come to the conclusion that we need to add value in other ways to businesses. And I think if we only are just adding value with obviously recruiting people, which is big, but there's so much more that goes into talent acquisition. But if the only way that we're really seen as being valuable to the business is by just adding people to the company, as soon as that demand goes down, we just lose our job, right? And so I'm gonna kind of walk through how we can start to use things like video and social media in general, but I'm really focused on video because I think going into 2024 and beyond, there's an opportunity for us all as recruiters to really add value to business in a different way. So, you know, to back this up, I like to use statistics, and I pulled these from HubSpot, a big, you know, marketing company. They know a lot more than me. And one of the things that they say is that 90% of marketers right now say that video is a key part of their strategy. And obviously, you know, marketing supports sales, which you know, a lot of us, anyone in employer branding would probably say marketing should support recruiting as well. But you can see how much this is up in a really short amount of time. So since 2016, you know, 7 years, 60% were saying it's a key part. Now 90% are. And honestly, it should be 100%. I don't know why this is low. But 96% of marketers say that video helps their prospects understand the product better. Obviously, we're not selling a product, right? We're selling jobs, we're selling company culture, we're selling positions. You know, a large part of what we do is sell an organization, make a fit, and obviously there's a lot that goes into that. But we're trying to sell them like this is the right opportunity for you. So when we look at how people find out things about businesses, it is with video. And 92% of marketers say that video gets them a positive ROI as well. So the point here is that video is important. And one of the things that happens when I talk about social media and I talk about video, inevitably people start to say, well, I don't need to do that. And I think I don't want to point fingers. I'm not here to like accuse people of anything, obviously, but I want to inspire you and just say, I think when you look around at where people are spending time, we all know that people are on their cell phones. And when I started in recruitment, it was like, go where the candidates are. I just remember that ringing in my head, go where the candidates are. And if we just look around, go to your coffee shop, go to your hospital, go to your office, everybody is on a cell phone. And when we look at where they're spending time on a cell phone, social media is where they're at. So again, love to back up facts, but 60% of people in the world are using social media. I think this is, again, low. But average usage, again, 2.5 days. But just look at your phone screen time if you do that. Look at your kids' phone screen time. Look at people around you and just ask people, like, how much time are you spending on social media? 2.5 hours a day. It's replacing TV. You know, big platforms are Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, TikTok's emerged, right, with short form video and made an impact to all of the platforms. And then obviously for our purposes, for a lot of you, if you're using LinkedIn, still has a ton of value. It's really the social media platform for people finding jobs. And I've noticed a big trend with, you know, people really wanting to network and connect on the platform as well. So obviously social media is important. Now, whenever I talk about TikTok, and I'm just to be clear here too, when I talk about TikTok, and this probably isn't clear, but when I talk about TikTok, I use TikTok and short form video pretty interchangeable. And what I classify as short form video are like videos, you know, ranging anywhere from 15 seconds to 3 minutes. So these short bite-sized videos, that's what I think of when I say TikTok as well. So yes, I talk about the platform, but it's also pretty interchangeable in my mind with YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, all of these short form platforms. But a lot of people, again, when I talk about TikTok, oh, ridiculous. I would never go on there. It's just a bunch of kids. And I've got 175,000 followers on the platform. And you can see, it doesn't look like there's that many kids that are interacting with me. Okay, 18 to 24-year-olds, 11%. But 25 to 54% of my audience is 25 to 54. So, and I don't know what that is. It's almost 80%. So again, I think we just got to look at what the data says sometimes and go, okay, wow, like there are actually people that I could potentially recruit in that age group. And look, there's even some 55 plus on there, okay? And it doesn't even mention under 18 on there. So when I think about TikTok again, as the platform itself, it's not just for kids, but short form video, like everybody is watching short form video right now. So again, when you look at like the video analysis of some of these videos on these platforms, all of the big platforms are really pushing short form video. It's like almost the only way to grow because it's so addictive, and it's one of the ways that they are attracting people to these platforms. And when you look, it's how powerful some of these videos are. So this was a video that I made talking about remote work, and it got 108,000, was it 108,000 hours or 10,840 hours, 650,000 minutes. This video took about a minute or two to make. So again, another big question that people ask me, well, what's the ROI of this? And I always look at the most instant ROI you can look at is how long did it take me to make it and how many people viewed it. And obviously this is an extreme example. It's a viral video, but these are my videos on LinkedIn. It's a similar type of thing. And we look at like the analytics on here. We see impressions, we see reactions, and this is why I love video on LinkedIn. In most posts on LinkedIn, you will only see impressions, which is just basically how much you showed up in the newsfeed. It's a pretty mindless number. Doesn't really mean that much. What I look at with these videos is how many people viewed it. So I had 16,000 people view this video, and 4,700 minutes. So that's what I'm measuring when I look at videos. I go, how much are people actually watching it? So that's why I love video. Better analytics, you can really engage with people. And the way that I think about it is, if when I think about like, what do recruiters want more of? I hear two things. I want more time with candidates, more FaceTime, or more connection with candidates. And I want more FaceTime with hiring managers as well. And I have here that you get more candidate FaceTime. You also get more hiring manager FaceTime. So I know we've got a session coming up, or you guys have a session coming up around like how to increase and make these meetings better with hiring managers. Video is a really powerful way, especially on LinkedIn. It's a powerful way to get in front of hiring managers and build trust with them, right? Because they're going to see you out there, and you'd be surprised. Hiring managers will pay attention to those things. Your leadership at your company will pay attention to those things. It's a great way to get more visible, just with people you're looking to get more time with. And then obviously, like I said, better engagement, and then better stats to track success. And again, this is view time versus impression. That's the number that I'm most interested in when I look at videos. So hopefully I sold you on the power of video, why I think video, is just important for us as recruiters. And it is just it's a powerful tool in general. When we look at like what types of videos work, I've kind of broken it down into these kind of sections. And these are all videos that you can do, I can do. They don't take a lot of work. You don't need a rig like this. And the first type of video that's really, really popular right now are these selfie videos. And they're also the most uncomfortable videos. I just want to let you know, but they are also the most authentic videos. So selfie videos are literally, you've all seen them, where it's somebody just talking into the screen. They are incredibly powerful. I've got a friend of mine who he just started creating on TikTok about 6 months ago. He's got 92,000 followers, and he will say it himself. Like I think he's surprising himself with the amount of views, but what wins people over is he's so authentic. It's like a very unpolished, like just him being him. So these videos are really, really powerful. The next type of video that's still really popular are these podcast snippets, right? So if you have a podcast, like I have a podcast, or somebody at your company has a podcast, being able to snippet those podcast highlights are really, really powerful. But you can also do fake podcast snippets, which are literally you getting on a hiring call with a hiring manager, like a Zoom meeting, or getting on a call with a team member and the team that you're looking to hire for, and getting them on and asking them questions about the role, asking them questions about the position that you're looking to fill, and actually creating content. And it just looks like a podcast, But it's not a podcast, just a video. It's a Zoom video put to speaker view. So those videos are also really, really powerful. They're interesting. There's videos with text and music. So I'm sure you've all seen those videos where it's just literally a backing track and then some text over it. Those are really easy videos to do. Videos that follow trends are also increasingly popular. So if you know your industry well and you understand like what, potentially you're hiring in construction and you really know what construction engineers find entertaining or interesting, trend videos can be really great. You apply it to their industry. Good way to get some attention. Then you've got your professionally done videos, which I'm a big fan of. Like if you got your employer branding team, your marketing, your communications team, those videos obviously still really, really powerful. And then you have these green screen videos. And as we talk about like some of the topics that you can throw in terms of like what you produce videos around, green screen videos are becoming really, really popular as well. And those are basically where you have a screenshot of a news article, something relevant to your industry, and you're doing a commentary around it. So these are kind of like the new videos that work. Now, I would say out of all of these, you could start right now doing these videos and they take zero production costs, with the exception of obviously those professional done corporate videos. So kind of the next thing I want to talk about was just the kind of the culture of these short form videos, because I think this is important, and it trips people up when they get onto a platform, because they're like, well, you kind of got to know the culture of a platform. And again, when I talk about TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels, all these video platforms, they all kind of have the same culture because TikTok has inspired them. So videos that are really popular are like vlogs, these day in the life videos. And this one really doesn't surprise me because I look at what's popular just in culture, and like reality TV is huge, right? And when I actually think about that logically, I go, why is reality TV so big? It's like we have this fascination with other people, and guess what? It's the same thing on social media. Like people are interested in like what a recruiter does, or like what you do, or like what a day in the life in your office is. They're popular. And you have like get ready with me videos. I don't do these types of things, but for some people, these videos are really, really popular. I've never done one. But they're definitely popular. You have the humor videos. This is kind of my niche, like just doing funny videos, right? Short, funny videos. People love that stuff. You've got knowledge and high value videos. Now, the reason I add this in there is because this is where, recruiters that have been in the game for a long time, or if you've been in your industry for a long time and you're actually an SME, a subject matter expert, people are searching on TikTok. Like one of my biggest videos of all time was one of my first videos I did. And it's talking about how to get into recruiting. And it's actually like one of my worst videos, but it had people searching like how to become a recruiter. And that's what it's indexed as, like basically with hashtags and description in the video. TikTok has indexed it as a video that teaches you how to be a recruiter. And so people, anytime they search how to be a recruiter, this video pops up. So, I've mentioned the humor and the authentic and having fun. That's great. And that's a strategy, but high value and high knowledge this is where people are going for information nowadays. They're going to YouTube, they're going to TikTok, they're going to these social media platforms over Google, right? I mean, I guess YouTube is Google, but they're searching on these platforms for answers. Another type of video that's really powerful are these comment reply videos. I've just seen that Instagram's added that. And so this is where you can like really build community. So you start building a channel and people ask you questions, you can reply to questions, which I think is pretty powerful. You have reaction videos, so these like stitches. So you see somebody do a video, maybe it's a job seeker that's struggling, maybe it's somebody in your industry complaining about something. You can reply and do a stitch video where it shows like the first couple seconds of the video and then your response to it. Really popular videos. Then you have duet videos, which are the ones where it's like the side by side and you're reacting. And then again, trending sound videos. So this is kind of like the culture, right? Like there's lots of different ways to approach it. I would say like the guy that I mentioned before that grew really fast on TikTok, he's definitely what I would consider high value subject matter expert, where I tend to be more humor. And you've really got to understand your market. Like there are some of you that, potentially you're recruiting nurses, for example, maybe they would relate more to humor than necessarily high value content. But maybe a lot about the healthcare industry and you're able to create videos around that and still be searchable. So what I'll say, and I'll get to this, near the end, like you really have to kind of experiment and figure out but these are the basic type of videos and kind of the idea around them. So a couple things that I've noticed about videos, and just to give some context on how crazy I've been with videos. Over the last 12 months, I've put out 2,300 videos. So when you break that down, it's about 8 videos a day. I've really kind of worked hard to learn and understand and see what works well. And that's over the last year. And here's some of the observations in that time that I've seen. And this is from watching other creators as well, seeing other people kind of make mistakes and do things. The first thing is, if you're going to start a recruiting channel around recruitment of whatever niche or sector or industry you're in, you really need to stick to the topic, and you've got to be patient. And what I've noticed is one of the first 50 videos, which that sounds like a lot, right? 50 videos. It can happen quicker, but I'd say like one of the first 50 videos you do will go viral. Like it just always happens, and it's just been this way. I don't know why it is. But it's to do with the hashtags. So you create relevant hashtags for your industry. But what I've seen over and over and over, one of your first 50 videos will go viral, and it will just push it out to a ton of people based on the hashtags. And what can happen is people, they deviate from their niche, and the one video that they deviate out of their niche, they go viral. And the problem with that is then you start to get a lot of followers, and it's like the rest of your content is just not relevant to the video that went viral. A great example is I have a friend who, he did a video discovering, it's like a reaction video discovering that his oven had 2 legs on it and he could clean his oven. And it's this like moment where he realizes, after watching another video, it was like a Stitch video, a reaction video, he goes, wow, my oven has this too, and it shows his reaction. The video got 20 million views. He got featured in Newsweek and like all this crazy stuff. And I remember him like almost bragging, like, hey, I got 40,000 new followers. And then he started to push his agency, like his video editing agency. I was like, he couldn't get any engagement because everybody had fallen in love with him for this comedy piece, but he wasn't a comedian. And so it's a temptation when you get online, is to just to go with a trend, or like to do something. And it's okay to go with trends, but you've got to bring it back to whatever your niche is, right? You got to really target your market, target your candidates, find out what they're interested in. And what I would say is, initially when you start, if you're going to take one of these channels seriously, you've got to produce a couple of videos a day. And that's purely because when one of these videos goes viral and you get followers, if you can't engage them right away with other content that's relevant, that if showed interested in, then you automatically lose kind of your place with those followers. So you kind of got to have a backlog of videos, which is why I always say just start producing 1, 2, 3 videos a day if you're going to take it seriously. And again, the high value expertise is what is becoming more and more valuable, because people are just using these platforms to search. So if you really know your niche, or if you can really give some great advice to people in your niche for their career, that is the ideal, because you'll find that people, who want to grow in tech, the people that want to grow in manufacturing, whatever industry you're in, they'll search things like, how do I get a promotion? And if you're the person that they see, that's going to help attract people, right? And that's the whole goal of this, to be known in your industry. Another thing I've noticed, you have really 3 seconds. And I would say this is true on these short form videos. This is true on LinkedIn. This is true even if you're writing a text post on LinkedIn. It's like the hook, the first 3 seconds of everything is what matters on social media. And this is why, if your strategy on social media is to just like say, hey, I'm hiring, or like something that has no substance, it's the reason that none of those posts take traction. It's because there's just not enough there to hook somebody's interest. And so what I found is you have to really just give like a short snippet of what the video is about. So for example, if I was doing a job seeking video, I might say, 2023 has been brutal for job seekers. Are you struggling on the job search? That's the hook. So I'm making a statement about 2023 being brutal for job seekers, and then saying, are you this person? So I've hooked them. A mistake that a lot of people make is they do videos and they do an introduction first. And the problem with that is nobody knows you and they don't know why they should pay attention to you. So if you're introducing yourself, you've lost people. You've got to hook them first and then go into the introduction. And so when I talk about the hook, don't intro, hook their attention, and then you bring in the intro for credibility. And so when it comes to hooks, bold statements, like catching somebody's attention is crucial nowadays. It's the same on LinkedIn. Like you have to have a compelling post. Like you have to have a reason for people to start. It could be relatable. It could be funny. Polarizing works. I don't really recommend that one. I mean, that's just, but it works. And then high value again. So, saying something high value that somebody goes, wow, okay, I actually want to know about this. High value statements, quick statements, get people's attention. And then it's after the hook. This is where you bring in your credibility. So if you follow me on TikTok and you see any of my videos, I do this format all the time where I'll say, one that I do is, I'm a big fan of remote work, and it's kind of polarizing, but I am a big fan of it. So I might say, remote work is going to make the comeback, and here's why. And then my credibility is, my name is Joel Algie. I've been in the recruitment space for coming up to a decade. And what I've done is I've given them a reason of what the video is about and why they need to watch it and why it's going to be interesting. And then I've given my credibility. And, when you're on these short form video platforms, you have to do that quickly. You have to give people a reason to listen, like why they should listen to you. Otherwise you lose them. Okay. I don't think it matters as much on LinkedIn because it's usually people you're connected with, right? But on these platforms where you're not really connected with people and it's just people who are like inquiring or you're trying to target, you have to give them a reason to listen to you. So I've been in healthcare recruiting for the last 15 years, right? That's brings credibility. What I'd also recommend is when you're doing video, if you haven't built up an audience or people don't know you, which takes a little bit of time, you got to focus on shorter videos and just realize that everybody's attention span is almost zero. Like I'm sure there's people out there right now who are checked out because I've been talking for 27 minutes. But shorter is sweeter. And this is the same with a LinkedIn written post. This is the same with an email that you're sending out to a candidate, an InMail. Like people just, they don't have time for fluff. So even if you're writing an InMail, it's the same with text. Get to the point, short and sweet. And just being respectful of people's attention. Like if someone doesn't know you, they're not going to give you a lot of attention. And unless you're able to build that credibility, you can't get more time. So I just suggest if you're going to start in video, start with shorter videos. 15 seconds to a minute long is probably ideal. And as you start to build up an audience in your space, people get to know you. That's when you can start to introduce longer videos. And then my biggest tip for anybody with any video or any content in general is you got to experiment and practice. And this is the piece that hangs up everybody. And this is the piece that hangs up your social media expert at the company you work at, your marketing department, your CEO, whoever it is. Everybody's deathly afraid of getting on video. And it's because the first few videos you do aren't going to be great. They're not going to be where you start. And you saw my video where I started. People at work were like, oh, what are you doing? Like, aren't you embarrassed? And I'm like, well, we'll see. And I've got a friend right now who's starting to do video and he's already getting kind of, ridiculed and mocked. And I'm like, guys, they're like, Joel, you got to say something to him. I'm like, no, I don't need to say anything to him. He's going to find his way, because with a lot of this stuff, you have to test it out. And then particularly if you're on a team when no one's doing video, somebody's got to step out and do this, take the shot, and you got to practice, experiment, and practice a lot. Okay. So one of the other things that, again, when we're talking about bringing value to the business, I really think that as internal recruiters, particular, right? I do deal with a lot of agency recruiters, and obviously this is way harder and almost impossible to do as an agency recruiter. But as internal recruiters, like you have this cheat code of like getting the hiring manager involved. And I actually have a friend he's in the Milwaukee area, which is in Wisconsin, in the Midwest of the US where I'm based. And he actually started doing a lot of video to attract developers because the InMails weren't working, the emails weren't working. No one knew who the company was. It was like a company of 10 people. And the goal, he had to hire 2 to 3 developers a month in order to keep the IT consulting business going. And so he started to produce these videos, and he got other developers and he got hiring managers involved. And the key to this for him was he had to have a plan. Like you cannot bring a hiring manager in and go, oh, we're going to do a video. Like you have to be confident that I have a plan. This is what we're going to talk about. So you've got to have a structure. You got to have a plan of what type of video. And going back, I always suggest these fake podcast snippets where it's like you having a conversation on Zoom. It's a great video to be able to do. Like you're interviewing about the position. Like, why should a candidate want to work here? What are the projects you're working on? Why should they be in your team? Right. And again, you don't need to write a script word for word, but you want to have a, almost like a podcast script. Here are the 6 or 7 questions I'm going to ask you. And I always suggest, like, if you're going to use this type of strategy, in order for people to get comfortable, you're going to need to record more content and then just kind of edit out. And the editing, it sounds intimidating. I'll drop some tools as well after this, like really, really easy editing tools that require almost zero effort because AI is really powerful nowadays. You can edit more easier than ever. It will almost automatically do the effort, and there's like free tools for that. But you want to record, and you've also got to realize, like, what this is going to do is, look, it's going to be really powerful for candidates, because as we go back to slide 1, people, if there's video there, they will engage more with the video than they will with the job description any day. If there's video involved and they can get a feel for it, it's like answers a lot of questions, right? But number 2, like, this really does help you build a strong relationship with the hiring manager, because you're doing something together, you're building it. And obviously this kind of content can do well on social media, but you can also use it in your messaging strategy and your outreach strategy, right? So there's a lot of collateral use for this type of content, and especially if you do multiple roles, or there's multiple positions that, you know, same kind of position. And it's not just hiring managers, team members, right? And I get that not everyone's comfortable in video, and you might not want to force them, but find hiring managers, find people who are willing to get on video with you. And again, to make them feel comfortable, have the plan, write that script. If you're confident, they'll be comfortable. So again, using it for social medias, use it in DMs. And again, like this, like, I get reached out to by recruiters all the time. And the problem is it's so easy to reach out to people nowadays. Like, guys, I don't know about you. LinkedIn is a cesspool of just reach outs. Like, I'm getting reached out to you by everybody all the time, but it's also my email. It's everywhere. And the problem is like, I mean, I work with a lot of tech companies that are making sourcing and messaging even easier. And all that means is there's just more noise. But if if you're a candidate and you receive 20 emails about amazing jobs, or 15, or however many, and then one's got a video and you can actually hear the hiring manager, you're probably more likely going to engage more with the video, right? And if I asked everyone on this call, who's done this in the last month, probably nobody, maybe one person, doubt it though. And so you gotta think, like, how do I add value to the team? How do I add value to the business? You do things that other people aren't doing, right? And again, don't force it. Do not force this with hiring managers. Invite them into what you're doing. And so ideally, you're doing some video content yourself, you're comfortable, and I would get comfortable first before bringing the hiring manager in. But as you bring them in and you invite them in, and as you know, their hiring managers start seeing better candidate flow and better results, and we'll talk about how to track that and like how you can track all of these analytics. As they start to, their time to fill goes down, they get quality candidates. That's when other people start to come in. Like, someone's got to show other people, like, this is how it works. Look, the results are better. And then they're brought into the situation. So we've got the building relationships with hiring managers, how to bring hiring managers in. Really, where I think you start to build value is through credibility. And look, I've got 400,000 followers on social media. Like, if I say that to people, there is a weird credibility that comes with that. And it's social proof. Like, there's a reason that when you have 400,000 followers, it's easier to get to 450 and 500,000. But when you're at 0, it's really hard to get to 100. And it's literally because there's just credibility. It's just social proof idea. So some ideas of how you can just share and like kind of build credibility and share content. If you're not sharing industry related articles, you need to be, but the key isn't really sharing the article, it's having a point of view. And what a lot of people do is they go, oh, I'll just summarize the article. That's not a point of view. That's a summary, and they can just read the article, and they will, and they'll forget about your summary of someone else's point of view. You got to have that point of view, right? Like, how is this going to impact my network? How is this going to impact our industry? How is this going to impact your business? And I mentioned it before, one of the biggest keys to this is hiring managers and leaders will see this. So if you're constantly on social media in front of them and they're like, wow, you seem to know what you're talking about, that builds credibility. So when you are looking to submit a candidate, when you're looking to actually consult them on something, you start to win that over because they're comfortable with you, they're familiar with you, right? And how many of you would want more time with the hiring manager? Well, this is one way to get it. It's like one-way communication, okay? It's people viewing you uninterrupted. And again, that social proof is huge for building credibility. And then really the last point is like, you just get to know, like, a lot of people come to me and they're like, well, what are the AI tools today? Like, what about this? What about this? What about these tools? What are you seeing in the marketplace? And the reason people do that is because they see me as somebody who's having a lot of conversations, because they see the conversations that I'm having. And I'm also forced into a situation where I have to know what's going on in the industry. I have to know what's going on in the job market. I have to know what big companies are doing, because that's what my content is about. So again, as recruiters, like, we've struggled with this, with being like a subject matter expert. We know the business, we know people. Sometimes we don't always do a great job of showing that we know the industry. This can really, really help, right? Because you're constantly sharing industry news, you're knowing what's going on in your industry, and you're talking about how it's going to impact the candidates and the business. So look, this is a lot of content as well. And hopefully if you have the recording, you'll be able to listen to it back again. Hopefully there's things that maybe you'll pick up that you missed the first time, particularly around the video, because again, a lot of content. But if I was to leave you with 3 things that you could just do, number 1 is find leaders in your space or in your industry. So whatever your industry is, find people who are creating content and start to follow them, and just honestly just learn what type of content seems to resonate with people in your industry. And if you're unsure of like who those people are, just ask candidates. Like I've gotten into this pattern of just ask people, like, who do you follow on social? Who do you like following that's in the industry? And people will tell you, and you start to see a trend and go, wow, everyone's consuming that content. I'll pay attention to that. And then I'll challenge you, just create a video every day. Now you don't have to share all those videos, but just try and make a video a day with the goal of sharing one of those videos a week on social media. And the reason I say sharing it is because that's how you get accountability for this. Like, I think if you don't create the accountability of sharing it, then even if you get good on video, it's like you've got to kind of put yourself out there, right? And that's the big fear for most people, is putting themselves out there. But it gets easier over time. But I think you've got to practice on those videos a little bit. So just get used to creating a video a day, and then find someone on your team to be accountable. So like, if you've got someone on your team and you guys have talked about social media, you've talked about video, get with them and just be accountable with each other and hold each other accountable. And I would say it's like teams. One of the things I do when I work with teams is I really work with them on a monthly basis to create this accountability and to really create that teamwork around it. Because I think if you just, if you're a leader here and you're like, oh, recruiter, go create some videos, they're not going to do it. It's like you have to see it as a team sport. And that's how I view social media from a B2B, like marketing to consumer or consumer to business. Like whoever you're trying to reach, you guys have to do it as a team, right? Recruiting team, marketing team, employer branding team, working together as a team, working together as individual recruiters. So those would be the 3 action items. Find leaders to follow them, create a video a day with that aim of sharing one, and then get with each other and get accountable. So find a buddy system. So I've got about 2 minutes left. I do want to share a little bit about what I do, because I know people always ask me, like, what do you do that you have no information? And a large portion of the reason I don't have a lot of information out there is because there's a lot of sides to my business. But one of the things that I do with corporate teams is a 2-day workshop. So I literally have 4 hours of content where we look at everything. So the first day is foundational profile. Like, how is your profile funneling people to where you need them to go? Where are candidates going? Like, does your profile catch people's attention? If you're going to create content, you gotta get a profile that captures them. And I talk about connection strategy and engagement strategy. These are just things that it's just this daily activity on these platforms is essential, but you just need to have a quick 20 to 30 minute daily strategy that you use every day to start to increase awareness of who you are in your industry. Second phase is I talk about copywriting, video, and other content. Like, how do you actually do the content? Like, what are the hooks when you're writing? How do I do a call to action? Cover video, cover pretty much every type of content. And then the third phase is, what do you actually post about? And I've broken it down into these sections: personal content, job seeker value, because you want to be valuable, employer branded content, your open jobs. It's important to talk about those, but how do you talk about it? And then again, industry news. And then the fourth phase is around, like, how do you schedule this so you're not spending 8 hours a day like me on this stuff? You're spending 20 to 30 minutes a day. And then how can you start to build up a library where you're not starting from scratch each day, but you're actually sharing and resharing valuable content, and really working as a team. So I have a 2-day workshop, and then that's followed by accountable monthly sessions that I have with teams, an hour a month where we just meet, we ideate, we keep each other accountable, and I just answer questions. So that is it from me. I think, Andy, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Joel. If you can stop sharing there, mate, I'll pinch it
Yes.
from you.
You do, yeah, I forgot. It's your
You get it?
slides now.
I'm seeing love hearts. I'm seeing claps. So that went down really well, mate, and very much appreciated.
Thank you guys.
Couple of things that stood out to me from your conversation there. If you're only seen as valuable as a recruiter when hiring is happening, as soon as that hiring stops, you're being laid off. And how do we kind of demonstrate that value? The other thing that really stood out to me was, you need that first hiring manager to come on the journey with you and show those results, so that then you can get other people in the business brought into those results and on that journey as well. So I think those are really powerful. There's a couple of questions we'll come back to at the Q&A section as well. But I just wanted to touch on it very briefly, how some of our LiveHire clients are in particular focusing on that results piece and demonstrating the results that these efforts are having in terms of the hiring outcomes that are happening for their business. So just a very brief overview of what LiveHire is. For those that don't know, we're a recruitment platform that operates as a kind of candidate relationship management tool, as well as an applicant tracking system. So we run the entire process from engagement through to offer, including all the requisition, et cetera, in the middle. But one of the things that's really different and unique around LiveHire is this ability for candidates to engage with you outside of just the job application. So most systems, it's job application, or maybe sign up to get some notifications based on your email and a couple of data points. We operate on this concept of talent community join as well as job application. And in both instances, we want to use social to allow people to engage. So, click your Facebook sign up page, use your Google sign up, use your LinkedIn, whatever it is that you are comfortable with and use normally to engage with the brand. And we represent the brand out in the market wherever you are. So if you're on TikTok, if you're on Instagram, if you've got, link in bio, have that call to action wherever you're putting out content as a place for people to come back and either apply for a job, or more commonly join the talent community, because there's no guarantee that the people that are engaging with you today are the right people for the jobs you have open today. So being able to open that top of funnel even greater, and just giving that call to action for them to engage and be part of it. And we can do that anywhere. Just a few examples from across our client base. So promote your talent community on LinkedIn pages and have that call to action there. In your without the job vacancy, engage people with the brand. Have your team members doing that. Company posts here, there, and elsewhere. So these are just some of the examples you can see of people being able to engage with that brand outside of a specific job application. Same sort of thing on Facebook. Again, this is Elphinstone. So that call to action there to join the talent community. And then, we go offline as well. I know this was an online content conversation, but there is that offline version as well. So if you're in a store or you're at a physical location, again, having that call to action for people to be able to engage with you and your brand. Once they have done, sorry, didn't click the wrong button. They click that social button, we can capture up to 95 structured data points on a candidate's profile in less than 2 minutes. Super easy and straightforward for the candidate, all really modern and mobile friendly on any device. So the goal here is just get as much information with as little pain as possible from the candidate, so you can then engage with those people via email and text message really easily to continue that engagement and that work down the line. And then we can do things like public talent pools for, say, events, etc. So you've got a real way to organize and segment your overall talent community into those groups of skills and capabilities that are important to you as an organization. Now, I did want to jump over quickly to kind of what that means once people have engaged with you and they've run through the process. Because we run the entire recruitment process, we can also then track on outcomes. So please don't judge me on the data in this. This is demo environment, not real data. So when we look at time to hire or things like that, it's, I'm not actually this bad of a recruiter. But what we can see is kind of the source of all of the applications that are coming into the jobs that we've got available. And then ultimately the source of hires as well, with a significant amount of filtering and availability to search on things like candidate source, which can be easily tracked. And of course, as with every demo, I've gone and clicked the wrong button. Always the case when I let see things sit. Finally, we also have this call to action within job ads to embed video. So when Joel was talking about doing an interview with the hiring manager, there's no reason you can't quickly add that to your job description as well. So obviously share that socially, but also add it to your job description so people have got that visibility of a specific job. This is more of a generic one that Dulux have done, but there's no reason that couldn't be a very specific interview with a hiring manager that's embedded there on the job description as well. So that's it from me. We'll turn over to Q&A. Let me stop sharing. And we've got a few questions. Karen, do you want to lead the Q&A session?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you both for that.
Thank you.
We've got a couple of questions, and now's the time, guys, to send us through any more you have. This one's from Nikki for Joel. From your experience, what is the timeline on the life of branding EVP videos? At what stage do you suggest filming new professional videos? We noticed a drop off in engagement after around 12 months for our latest video campaigns.
Look, I would love to be able to say I have the answer for this one. I think why I'm such a big proponent of individual recruiters and kind of the timely type videos is because they go hand in hand with the professional video. So they kind of, it's a different thing, right? It's like a recruiter creating a video in the moment and talking about an open job. It's kind of like a time sensitive video. So I don't have an answer for that, but again, I think that would depend on like what your budget is, and probably more of a question for like an employer branding professional than what I do. Unfortunately, sorry, Nikki.
Probably worth noting though as well, Joel. You mentioned the importance of a backlog of content, right? And that ability for an individual to build up their personal brand and having other content, but that corporate branded content is a great little addition to that backlog of high credibility. So I think they complement each other really well.
It's perfect. And like, when it comes to consistency, this is why when I broke down those 5 areas of types of posts, not many of those types of posts are really content that you have to like create, and I know like if you force people to create content, it takes a lot of time. You don't want to be creating all the time. So to your point, the employer branded content should be evergreen. You want to use that and you want to integrate it. So it's definitely great to use that. And then,
perfect. Thank you. The next one is from Ainsley. Do you use a content calendar to plot and plan what you'll create, Joel?
I do. Yeah. Right now I just have like a Google sheet that I have it planned on because I just do so many videos. But what I do is I just talk about like the topics that I'm gonna do. So every single Monday I do a personal post. On Tuesdays I talk about like a valuable post to like whatever kind of client I'm looking for. So obviously I do a lot of training, so I'll talk about the power of video content, for example. Wednesdays I have my actual live show and podcast, which I post, and then Thursday I talk about industry news, and then Friday could be a personal post or it could be some type of meme. I go kind of back and forth. The reason I do it that way is like I've just been doing this so long. When I'm coaching people, you for sure need to know each day what you're going to post. So it's, usually personal, job seeker content, industry news, employer branded content. And then Friday would be like your open jobs, and then you test it and you see what works best. But always having that plan before you go into the week is crucial. And I talk about that in one of the last sessions on like just how to schedule things out. So great question.
Perfect. Thank you for that. This one's from Hannah. How do you get hiring managers on board when you aren't allowed to share the company details anywhere?
I know I saw this question and I'm like, I'm curious on like why you're not able to share the company details anywhere, and like if you're at like an agency or like why that would be. I think if you're not able to get the hiring manager on board, you'd have to probably more lean on like your notes from an intake meeting, or really lean on that EVP and just talk about that yourself. But obviously if you're not allowed to share company details anywhere, I don't know if there's a solution around that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I don't know, either of you guys have any thoughts with that one? Because I did see that one.
No. Jess asks, what video editing tools do you recommend, Joel? Preferred free if you have any good ones.
Yeah, look, I really like TikTok's internal editing tool. So it's like actually like I edit a lot of my videos just on TikTok. But there's a tool called CapCut, and it's essentially TikTok's internal editing software as like an app. So CapCut is great. There's another one called Captions, which I believe is free. And really where these tools are valuable is they allow you on your phone to create little snippets, or if you've seen like that zoom function, it's really easy to do because you're literally using your fingers. So you can just edit right off the phone. Those would be great free ones. If you're looking for just like that itsy bitsy, like just more professional touch without going full like Adobe Creative, which is like what professionals use, there's a tool called Descript, which is really great. It's $10 a month in the US. I don't know where it would be where you're at, but $10 a month takes ums and ahs out. It's got AI to where it can like make you look like you're looking at the camera. A lot of really, really cool tools and really, really easy to use. But again, Captions and CapCut are two which I think are great. And honestly, if you just did a search, you would find a lot of free tools, and I just say download a couple and try them out and see what you think.
Perfect. Thank you. Christelle asks, Joel, how can we convince team members to jump on board when creating video content?
Look, Karen, you said, or maybe Andy, you said this, like you have to convince people by showing them what's in it for them. All right. And so look, this is literally what I do. A lot of what I do is I'm just inspiring recruiters that if they do this, if they create awareness in their industry, if people know who they are, outbound messages get easier. You get inbound, you go to networking events and people know who you are. It makes your life easier when people know who you are. So you've got to inspire them to be able to do it. I think having data around it and going, look, we increased time to hire, or like I mentioned before, you start to say, look, we got this hire, this quality person from this activity. So you've really got to show them like how it makes their life easier. Does that make sense?
And Joel, just to jump back to kind of where I was going on before, like not everyone's as outgoing as you, perhaps. Sometimes data is really great to support that, right? And you have a lot of our clients that'll tap in and be like, okay, well, I'm doing this project around video for this particular hiring manager. Let me pull them up and show the results and how different they are to what I'm seeing against other hiring managers that I'm not doing this work for. And then that data can be used when you're having that conversation with other hiring managers across the organization around the effectiveness of the sourcing efforts you're doing. I mean, that's just one example, but diving into all of these, we've got a lot of data that's able to help you support the effectiveness of the work you're doing, thanks to the tracking, not just from the top of funnel, but then all the way through to the outcome that's happening, which is the right person in the right role at the right time.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I know one of the things I do in my sales meetings too, when I'm with clients, is like I share my screen and just show them all of the inbound activity that I'm getting. And that usually is pretty convincing. And it's what inspires people, because I go, look, how did you come to me? Like, well, I clicked on, I want to work with you. Yeah. Okay. So you saw it work. That's how it works. So if you show people, and that's, you got to create that story. So I love that.
Okay. This is a good one for Joel.
I saw this one.
And I've got an answer for this one too, actually, from a marketing perspective, but I'm interested to see what you say. In your early video snapshot, you were wearing a collar shirt. Would you say professional, wearing a suit, versus casual, being more authentic? What are your thoughts on what you wear?
Oh man, how the world has changed since before I even did that video. Although I was working remotely back then. I think that video was in 2019, right? And so to me, I think you've really got to know your industry on this one, and you've got to understand your brand, and you got to understand the tone of your brand. And obviously all the content you create, it's always leading back to a brand. Now, my brand happens to be right now The Realist Recruiter. So if you watch any of my videos, you see it is a little bit more of an authentic kind of like tongue-in-cheek. I'm kind of like a sarcastic person in a lot of my videos. But it supports the brand. Like that is the brand I'm building. You've got to know what's your corporate brand, what's your EVP. And look, if the environment that candidates are going to be working in is like super casual and authentic and laid back, and I don't know if authentic is the right word, but let's just say laid back and like more casual, then I think great, portray that, right? But imagine the shock if you were super casual and then someone applies to a job, or they think that like you're a representation of that, and then everybody's in a suit. It's just, that wouldn't even make sense. So I think pay attention to what your brand is, and then think also, look, you're building a personal brand. So you've got to know, like, okay, am I looking to be a VP or an executive, and all the other executives are wearing a suit and tie and doing this? Well, then I think dress for the job that you want, and you want to portray yourself a certain way. So always be aware, like when you put yourself out, people will always judge you for your image. So I think you have to be mindful of that and just aware of like which industry you're in.
Yeah, perfect. That's what I was going to say. It was all about your employer brand. Okay, last one from Namrata. I love the session. Thank you. My question is, how do you deal with public bashing or not so nice comments on your content, especially when you share your point of view?
Look, I mean, I had a really bad experience this morning. You go to my LinkedIn and you can see my latest video about that if you're interested in that. This is a challenge, right? And anytime you put yourself out there, you're going to get comments. I think the way that I deal with it is like, I just detach that it's personal. I think people online, they tend to say things that they wouldn't say in person. With that being said, it's unlikely when you put yourself out there that you're going to receive that right away. I think as you kind of grow, if you grow a big audience, it will likely happen. What I found is when you're starting out, especially like think about LinkedIn, you're connected to people, people you place, people that you've got some sort of relationship with. And most people are pretty supportive. And nice thing with LinkedIn is, if someone says something, like they say what company they're with. So I think just people are mindful of that. And I found that particularly on that platform, people are pretty kind. And outside of that, if you are really getting serious about social media, you have to figure out a way just to detach and be okay with not responding. And ultimately their comments are going to reflect on them. It's not a reflection of you. And you just have to be, kind of okay with that and comfortable with that at a certain level.
Yeah, perfect. I have a question for you, Joel.
Yes.
From a marketing person. When we see our colleagues doing posts or whatever on LinkedIn, does it help if we like them and share them to get it, does it improve the results for them being shown in more people's feeds? Is that a practice like as a team we should follow?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, when I mentioned about, kind of getting an accountability partner, when I'm meeting with teams on a monthly basis after the workshop, one of the things that we do is we set up an internal chat. So people are actually dropping their links, and you go into that chat once a day and go and engage with people. So liking, I would probably say it's like third tier, commenting it's second tier, and LinkedIn has changed something recently. Like if you actually look at the feed, they've got a repost option. Repost instantly reposts it to all of your network's feed. So I think reposting is actually more powerful than it's ever been. I repost a lot of my content, and I found that when you repost it, it's like almost like a retweet. It's getting more views. So engage in whatever way you can. And again, if you get your hiring managers, if you can get the team to do it, they are likely going to have a better network than you will within the industry, right? Because you're much more likely to interact with people and peers, right? How many of you guys are connected to 1 million recruiters? I know I am. Most candidates are connected to developers or engineers or whoever it is that, it's in their industry. So if you can get them involved, even better.
Yeah, perfect. Love that answer. It's been a great session. My recommendation for everybody is to follow Joel because he's very inspiring. Just watching the kind of content he puts out will inspire you as well. In the follow-up email, I'll share a link to his network so that you can follow him and just get any inspo that he's sharing. As I said, I've loved following him, and I always get a giggle each day when I see one or two of those point of view ones he does are so funny. So if anyone would like more information about Joel's courses, just tick the box when you're exiting the survey. If you'd like any more details on LiveHire, also tick the box when you exit. Thank you so much for sharing your very busy day with us. We've enjoyed it. And thank you, Joel, for sharing your expertise with us. We've loved it. And we'll see you all online again soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.
See you guys.